You're no longer in Nanjing's bustling streets. Now you're gliding through the imperial court, where the air smells of sandalwood and ambition. The emperor's palace sprawls before you, all red pillars and golden roofs, like a movie set too grand for CGI. Servants shuffle past with trays of tea, their silk robes whispering against the polished floors. But your eyes are drawn to a sleek black cat, sprawled on a velvet cushion like it owns the place. This isn't just any cat. It's one of the elite, a scroll guardian with a better job title than you'll ever have. These feline VIPs don't just wander, they patrol with purpose, their eyes glinting like they're auditioning for a villain role in a drama. You can almost feel the weight of their stare, as if they're judging your modern life of scrolling X instead of guarding actual scrolls. If you tried keeping up with their workload, you'd probably nap harder than a cat in a sunbeam. Let's pause on a major historical moment. The Ming Dynasty's obsession with archiving knowledge under Emperor Yongle. This guy wasn't just about building big. He commissioned the Yongle Encyclopedia, a massive collection of texts that makes Wikipedia look like a pamphlet. Many of these texts were on silk scrolls, stored in the palace, where rats were as welcome as a glitch in a live stream. Cats became the solution, patrolling the halls like furry security guards. Here's a strange tidbit. Some court records mention cats being given official ranks like low-level bureaucrats. Imagine a cat with a title like Assistant Scroll Protector. Probably had a better pension plan than most artisans. These felines weren't just pest control. They were part of the palace's swagger, strutting past scholars like they knew they were the real MVPs. You're following this black cat now, let's call her Shadow, as she slinks through a corridor lined with scroll cabinets, the woods carved with dragons, and the air's so still you can hear her whiskers brush the floor. Shadow's not here for cuddles. She's on duty, ears twitching at the faintest skitter of a rat. You notice how the palace staff give her space, like she's got more clout than half the courtiers. They don't feed her scraps. Oh no, Shadow gets bowls of fish and rice, served like she's dining at a Michelin star restaurant. You can't help but chuckle, thinking of your own pet begging for treats, while this cat's basically got a corner office. Historians still debate whether these cats were trained like soldiers or just naturally bossy, but either way, they ruled the palace with a flick of their tails. Picture yourself slipping into a side chamber where scholars are unrolling scrolls to study ancient poetry. The silk so delicate it catches the light like a smartphone screen at full brightness. You're close enough to smell the ink, sharp and earthy, but there's a faint squeak in the shadows. Shadow's on it. Her paws move like she's playing a stealth game, and before you can blink, she's got a rat pinned. The scholars barely look up. This is just another day at the office. You're starting to get why these cats were legends. Saving scrolls was saving culture, one pounce at a time. Remember that ledger of rat kills from Nanjing? Up here in the palace, they're keeping score too, and Shadow's probably topping the charts. You're tempted to give her a high five, but she'd probably just yawn and saunter off. As you linger in this grand hall, the candlelight flickers, casting soft shadows that dance like the cats themselves. You can almost feel the cool silk under your fingers, the weight of history in every scroll. Shadow stretches, her job done for now, and you're struck by how these creatures aren't just pets, they're partners in preserving the Ming's legacy. The palace feels alive, humming with secrets and stories, and you're ready to follow Shadow deeper into this world where cats are more than cute. They're the unsung heroes of an empire.
You're now in a silk workshop, tucked away in a quieter corner of the Ming capital, where the air hums with the faint clatter of looms and the scent of mulberry leaves. The room's alive with artisans, their hands moving like dancers, weaving silk so fine it feels like liquid moonlight under your touch. These aren't just threads, they're the backbone of the empire's pride, spun into scrolls that carry poetry, maps, and imperial secrets. You spot a ginger cat perched on a wooden beam, eyes like tiny lanterns watching the floor for any sign of trouble. This cat, let's call her Ember, isn't here for scratches. She's got a job, and she's better at it than most interns you've met. If you tried weaving silk this delicate, you'd probably tangle it faster than earbuds in your pocket. These scrolls are so precious, one tear would be like accidentally formatting your hard drive. Catastrophic. Let's anchor this in a big historical moment. The Ming Dynasty's silk trade was a global powerhouse, rivaling modern tech giants. Under Emperor Hongwu, silk wasn't just fabric, it was currency, status, and art rolled into one. Workshops like this one churned out scrolls for the court, each one a masterpiece that took months to create. But rats loved silk too, gnawing through it like it's their personal buffet. That's why Ember's here, patrolling like a security drone. Here's a quirky fact. Some workshops hung tiny bells on their cats' collars so artisans could hear them hunting in the dark corners. Imagine trying to focus on your calligraphy while a cat's jingling like a holiday sleigh. It's adorable but distracting as a notification ping during a meeting. You're standing by a loom now, watching an artisan guide threads with a bamboo shuttle. The silk shimmers, catching the light like a high-res tablet screen, and you can't help but marvel at its fragility. Ember's still up there, tail flicking like she's conducting an orchestra of chaos. You hear a faint rustle, probably a rat thinking it's sneaky, and Ember's off, leaping with the grace of a gymnast. She lands silently, pinning her target before it can blink. The artisans don't even flinch. They're used to their feline coworkers stealing the show. You're half tempted to applaud, but that probably earned you a side-eye from Ember, who's too cool for your hype. Historians still debate whether these cats were chosen for their hunting skills or just their attitude, but either way, they're the unsung heroes of this workshop. Picture yourself closer now, near a finished scroll spread out on a table. The ink's still drying, depicting a crane soaring over misty mountains, and you can smell the sharp tang of pigment. It's so detailed you'd swear the bird might fly off the silk. But one wrong move, a rat, a clumsy hand, and it's ruined. Ember's presence feels like a shield, her quiet prowling a promise that this art will survive. You remember Shadow from the palace, lounging on her velvet cushion? Down here, Ember's life is humbler, but no less vital. Those bells on her collar? They're not just cute, they're a warning to pests that their time's up. You can't help but grin thinking of your own pet's lazy naps while Ember's out here saving cultural treasures. As the workshop's lanterns sway, casting golden flickers across the silk, you feel the rhythm of this place. Looms clicking, cats prowling, artisans weaving history. Ember stretches, her job done for now, but you know she's always watching. The scrolls around you seem to whisper their stories, and you're ready to follow this thread deeper into a world where cats and silk are bound by an unspoken pact to protect the Ming's legacy.
You're still in the silk workshop, but the air feels heavier now, tinged with a faint musty smell that wasn't there before. The looms still hum, but the artisans' faces are tense, their whispers sharp as they glance at the shadows. Something's wrong. You notice Ember, the ginger cat, no longer lounging on her beam. She's crouched low, ears flat, staring into a dark corner like she's seen a ghost. The threat isn't bandits or thieves, it's rats, and not just a few. They're everywhere, skittering in the walls, chewing through rice sacks, and eyeing the silk scrolls like they're a five-star meal. You can almost hear their tiny claws, like nails on a chalkboard, plotting to ruin everything. If you were stuck dealing with this infestation, you'd probably scream louder than a bad Wi-Fi signal dropping mid-Zoom call. Let's ground this in a historical moment. The Ming Dynasty's expansion of trade routes under Emperor Zhengtong in the mid-15th century. As goods flowed along the Silk Road, so did pests, hitching rides on carts and ships. Warehouses and workshops became rat playgrounds, threatening the scrolls that held everything from tax records to sacred art. The solution? Cats like Ember, elevated from pets to frontline defenders. Here's a bizarre fact. Some artisans believed rats were drawn to the scroll's ink, made from rare plants and minerals, like it was some kind of rodent catnip. Imagine trying to protect your life's work from a pest with a gourmet palate. Makes your coffee spill on a notebook seem trivial, doesn't it? You're creeping closer to the corner where Ember's locked in a stare-down. The workshop's lanterns cast long shadows, and you swear you see a rat's beady eyes glint, bold as an influencer chasing clout. Ember doesn't flinch, her tail still, her body coiled like a spring. Suddenly she pounces, a blur of fur, and there's a squeak cut short. The artisans exhale, but you can tell this is just one victory in a bigger war. These rats aren't just hungry, they're relentless, breeding faster than viral memes. You're starting to get why the Ming didn't just trap pests. They needed a living, breathing solution. Ember's not alone either. Other cats with names you imagine like Moonclaw or Silkstalker patrol nearby, their bells jingling faintly like a creepy lullaby. Now picture yourself by a stack of scrolls, their silk edges glowing under candlelight. You can feel their fragility, like a touchscreen that cracks if you breathe too hard. One rat could shred a year's work, leaving an artisan's dreams in tatters. You glance at Ember, now back on her beam, licking a paw like she didn't just save the day. Historians still debate whether the rat surge came from trade routes or poor storage, but nobody denies the cat's role in turning the tide. You can't help but smirk, thinking of your own pet ignoring a fly while Ember's out here defending culture.
Those bells on her collar, they're ringing more often now, a reminder that the workshop's under siege, but its guardians are ready. The workshop feels like a battlefield tonight, the air thick with tension, and the faint rustle of unseen enemies. You're drawn to a scroll on a nearby table, its ink depicting a river winding through mountains, so vivid you can almost hear the water. Ember's watching you now, her eyes saying, "I've got this." The artisans keep weaving, trusting their feline allies to hold the line. You're starting to feel the weight of this moment. Cats, silk, and a dynasty's legacy, all hanging by a thread. As the lanterns flicker, you're ready to see how these whiskered warriors rise to the challenge, their paws carrying the fate of an empire's treasures. A grand adventure stands before you, a workshop, a lightning tick-tock clamber, all wrapped up in a mystery with little blurry guardians.
You're still in the workshop, the air now thick with the scent of ink and tension, as the rat menace lingers like a bad app update you can't uninstall. The artisans are back at their looms, but their eyes dart to the shadows where Ember and her feline crew hold court. You're noticing something new, a small group of workers in a corner, not weaving, but crouched around a gray cat with a notched ear. Let's call him Ironclaw. They're not petting him, they're training him, dangling a piece of dried fish on a string, teaching him to leap with the precision of a drone strike. These cats aren't just born heroes, they're molded into scroll-saving machines, and you're watching the Ming Dynasty's weirdest boot camp. If you tried training your pet to do anything but knock over plants, you'd probably give up faster than abandoning a New Year's resolution. Let's tie this to a historical anchor. During Emperor Xuande's reign in the 1430s, the Ming court pushed for efficiency in every corner of the empire, from shipbuilding to scroll production. Workshops were under pressure to churn out more silk masterpieces, but the rat problem was like a lagging server slowing everything down. Cats became the fix, trained to patrol with military precision. Here's a strange fact. Some trainers used scented oils, think lavender or star anise, to mark scroll storage areas, so cats associated those smells with hunting grounds. Imagine your cat chasing a laser pointer, but instead of a dot, it's chasing the Empire's cultural legacy. Way more epic than knocking over your coffee mug, right? You're closer now, watching Ironclaw's training session. The fish swings like a pendulum, and he tracks it with eyes sharper than a 4K display. The trainer, a wiry man with ink-stained fingers, mutters encouragements, like he's coaching a kid for a spelling bee. He leaps, snags the fish mid-air, and lands without a sound. Pure ninja vibes. You can't help but grin, thinking of your own pet's idea of effort, sleeping through a vacuum cleaner. The artisans aren't just teaching hunting, they're honing instincts, making sure these cats don't get distracted by a random moth. Other cats join in, each with a tiny bell on its collar, creating a soft jingle that's oddly soothing, like a wind chime in a storm. Historians still debate whether these training methods were standardized or just a patchwork of local tricks, but the results speak for themselves. Fewer chewed scrolls, more purring protectors. Picture yourself by a scroll rack, the silk gleaming like a freshly printed photo.
You can almost feel the weight of each scroll, heavy with poetry or imperial edicts. And you get why these cats are so crucial. A rat could turn this art into confetti faster than you can say backup file. Ironclaw's now patrolling the racks, his notched ear twitching like he's picking up signals from another dimension. You remember Ember's heroics from earlier, and now Ironclaw's in the same league, his every step a promise to keep the rats at bay. The trainers reward him with a scrap of fish, and you're half jealous. Your lunch isn't that good. Those scented oils? You catch a whiff of anise, faint but sharp, and you see Ironclaw's nose twitch, locking on to his mission like GPS. The workshop's rhythm feels steadier now, the looms clicking like a heartbeat, the cats moving like shadows with purpose. You're starting to feel the bond between these artisans and their feline allies, a partnership forged in the fight for art. The lanterns glow softer, casting golden pools on the floor, and Ironclaw's bell chimes as he passes. You're ready to follow this feline army deeper, to see how their lives intertwine with the silk they guard, in a world where every pounce carries the weight of history.
You're still in the workshop, but the mood has shifted. Less tense now, more like a quiet hum of purpose. The looms clack softly, and the air carries the sweet tang of mulberry and a hint of something richer, maybe roasted fish. Your eyes drift to Ironclaw, the gray cat with the notched ear, no longer training, but lounging on a tiny silk mat, looking smugger than an influencer who just hit 1 million followers. This isn't just any mat. It's woven from scrap silk, finer than your best bed sheets, and Ironclaw's sprawled on it like he's earned a 5-star vacation. These scroll-guarding cats aren't just workers, they're living the high life, pampered like royalty in a world where silk is king. If you tried getting your pet to work for treats this fancy, they'd probably just stare at you like you're the help. Let's anchor this in history. During the mid-Ming period, under Emperor Cheng Ha in the 1470s, the dynasty's wealth exploded, and silk production hit new heights. Scrolls weren't just art, they were status symbols, gifted to allies or hoarded in palaces. Cats like Ironclaw were more than pest control, they were part of the empire's flex, symbols of precision and care. Here's a wild fact. Some workshops kept cat ledgers, not just for kill counts, but for their diets, listing delicacies like minced carp or steamed rice balls. Imagine tracking your cat's meals like it's a Michelin star menu. Your grocery list would cry in comparison. You're closer now, kneeling by Ironclaw's mat, noticing how it shimmers under the lantern light, softer than a touchscreen's glow. His bowl, carved from bamboo, holds scraps of fish so fresh you're tempted to snag a bite. The artisans treat him like a co-worker, nodding as they pass, and you can't help but chuckle. Your office's employee of the month probably doesn't get this kind of VIP treatment. Ironclaw's life is cushy, but he earns it. You spot him stretch, then saunter toward a scroll rack, his bell jingling like a soft alarm. A faint rustle in the shadows perks his ears, and he's off, moving like he's got a PhD in stealth. The rats don't stand a chance, and you're starting to see why these cats were spoiled. It's not just about hunting, it's about trust.
Picture yourself by a table where a scroll lies, its ink tracing a poem about cherry blossoms so vivid you can almost smell the petals. The silk so delicate you're scared to breathe too hard, like it's a phone screen one tap away from cracking. Ironclaw's back, licking a paw, his job done for now. You remember Ember's bells and Shadow's palace swagger. These cats are a dynasty of their own, each with a role in this silk saga. Historians still debate whether the cat's lavish treatment was practical or just Ming extravagance, but you're leaning toward both. After all, who wouldn't spoil a cat that saves your life's work? You catch a whiff of that anise oil from the training days, still lingering, tying Ironclaw to his mission like a scent-based GPS. The workshop feels warmer now, the lanterns casting a golden haze that makes everything soft, like a filter on a cozy Instagram post. You're struck by the rhythm, artisans weaving, cats patrolling, silk gleaming. Ironclaw yawns, his mat crinkling faintly, and you can't help but smile, thinking of your own pet's lazy sprawl, while these cats live like emperors. The scrolls around you seem to pulse with stories, protected by paws and bells, and you're ready to follow this tale further into a moment when these feline guardians face their biggest test yet.
The workshop's usual hum is gone, replaced by a tense hush, like the air before a storm. You're standing near Ironclaw's silk mat, but he's not lounging now. His ears are up, his body low, staring at the far wall where shadows flicker under the lantern light. The artisans are whispering, their hands frozen mid-weave, eyes darting to the door. Something's wrong, and it's not just rats this time. You hear a creak, too heavy for a rodent, too sneaky for a worker. It's bandits, slipping into the workshop under cover of night, aiming for the scrolls, stacked like gold bars in a vault. These thieves aren't after cash. They want the silk masterpieces that could fetch a fortune on the black market. If you were caught in a heist like this, you'd probably panic faster than losing your phone in a crowded mall. Let's tie this to a historical moment. In the late 1470s, during Emperor Chenghua's reign, the Ming dynasty faced growing unrest, with bandits targeting wealthy workshops as trade routes expanded. Silk scrolls were prime loot, portable, priceless, and easy to smuggle. This particular night, you're in a real-life thriller, where the stakes are higher than a Netflix cliffhanger. Here's a strange fact. Some bandits believed cats were bad omens, avoiding workshops where they prowled, thinking the felines carried spirits of past artisans. Imagine being so spooked by Ironclaw's glare you ditch a heist. Makes your cat's stink eye seem tame, doesn't it? You're crouched now, heart pounding, as the bandits creep closer, their footsteps muffled on the wooden floor. You can smell their sweat, sharp against the workshop's mulberry sweetness. Ironclaw's not alone. Ember's here too, slinking from a beam, her bells silenced to avoid detection. The cats move like shadows, eyes glowing like tiny moons. One bandit reaches for a scroll, its silk glinting with a painting of a phoenix, and you swear you hear a low growl. Ironclaw leaps, claws out, landing on the thief's arm like a furry missile. Ember follows, a streak of ginger fury, knocking over a stack of tools with a clatter that echoes like a dropped mic. The bandits freeze, spooked, and you can't help but smirk. Imagine explaining to your boss you were outsmarted by a cat duo. Picture the chaos, artisans shouting, lanterns swaying, scrolls teetering on racks. You're by the phoenix scroll, its color so vivid you can almost feel the heat of its flames. The bandits scramble, one tripping over a loom, another swearing as Ember swipes at his ankle. Ironclaw's bell jingles now, a mocking chime, as he chases them toward the door. The artisans grab brooms, but the cats are the real heroes, turning a heist into a comedy of errors. Historians still debate whether this incident was a one-off or part of a larger bandit wave, but the cat's role in saving the scrolls is legend. You're half tempted to cheer, but Ironclaw's already back on his mat, licking a paw like he didn't just save the Empire's art. The workshop settles, the air thick with relief and the faint scent of anise oil from the cat's training days. You're drawn to that phoenix scroll, untouched, its silk smooth as a freshly printed photo. The artisans murmur thanks, patting Ironclaw and Ember, who bask in the praise like they're posing for a selfie. You remember Shadow's palace swagger and the rat ledgers. These cats are building a legacy, 1 pounce at a time. The lanterns blow softer now, the workshop's rhythm returning, but you feel the weight of this night. The scrolls are safe, thanks to pause and instinct. And you're ready to see how these feline heroes become more than guardians. They become legends in their own right.
The workshop's back to its gentle rhythm, the looms clacking like a soft heartbeat, but the air still carries the thrill of last night's heist. You're leaning against a wooden beam, watching Ironclaw and Ember share a bowl of minced fish, their bells chiming faintly as they nudge each other. The artisans are chatting now, their voices lighter, swapping tales of the cat's heroics like they're recapping a blockbuster. But there's something new, a scroll unrolled on a nearby table, its ink fresh, depicting a cat with emerald eyes perched on a silk bale, claws out, fending off shadowy figures. This isn't just art, it's a story, a myth in the making, and you're seeing how these scroll guardians are clawing their way into Ming folklore. If your pet got painted as a legend, they'd probably just knock over the canvas for fun. Let's anchor this in history. During Emperor Hongshi's brief reign in the 1420s and the decades that followed, Ming art flourished, with scrolls capturing everything from nature to court life. Cats, thanks to their scroll-saving feats, became symbols of loyalty and cunning, popping up in poems and paintings. Their role wasn't just practical, it was cultural, like a meme going viral in a pre-digital world. Here's a quirky fact. Some storytellers claimed guardian cats could see spirits, protecting scrolls from rats and ghostly mischief. Imagine your cat staring at a wall like it's haunted. Now picture that vibe inspiring a whole village's bedtime tales. You're closer to the scroll now, its ink so vivid you can almost hear the cat's hiss. The artist, a young woman with ink-stained fingers, is adding details, a flick of the tail, a glint in the eyes, while humming a tune. You catch fragments of a story she's muttering. A cat named Starwhisker, who outsmarted a demon rat to save a sacred scroll. It's half legend, half exaggeration, but you're hooked, imagining Ironclaw as the star of his own epic. The workshop feels alive with these tales, artisans swapping cat stories like you'd trade X-posts. You can't help but grin thinking of your pet's lazy naps while these cats are out here inspiring sagas. The bells on Ironclaw's collar jingle as he stretches, and you wonder if he knows he's a folk hero. Picture yourself sitting cross-legged by the scroll, the silk smooth as a high-res screen, its cat hero leaping off the page. You hear another tale from an older artisan, how a cat once led workers to a hidden rat nest, saving a year's worth of scrolls. It's probably embellished, like a fish story, but the pride in his voice is real. These cats aren't just pest control, they're muses, their pounces painted and sung about.
Historians still debate how much of this folklore was propaganda to boost workshop morale, but you're leaning toward truth. After all, you saw Ironclaw and Ember take down bandits. Remember that phoenix scroll from the heist? Its glow feels distant now, replaced by this cat-centric art, tying the workshop to a larger cultural thread. The lanterns sway, casting soft shadows that dance like the cats in these stories. You're struck by the warmth here. Artisans weaving, cats patrolling, myths growing. Ironclaw leaps onto a loom, his eyes catching the light like the painted cats, and you feel the weight of this moment. The scrolls are more than silk, they're vessels for stories, guarded by paws and immortalized in ink. As the workshop's hum wraps around you, you're ready to follow this tale further, into a time when these feline legends face a new challenge, their glory days fading but never forgotten.
The workshop's glow feels softer now, the lanterns casting a fading warmth as dusk settles outside. You're still near the scroll with the cat hero, its ink drying under the watchful eyes of Ironclaw, who's curled up on a silk mat, his bell silent for once. The looms are slower tonight, the artisan's hands moving with a heaviness you haven't seen before. There's a whisper of change in the air, like the moment before you realize your favorite app's been discontinued. The rats are still a threat, but new tools, traps, sealed jars, even chemical powders are starting to appear, reducing the need for feline guardians. Ironclaw's still king of the workshop, but you can sense his role shifting, like a star athlete facing retirement. If you tried keeping up with these changes, you'd probably cling to your old ways like a stubborn flip phone user. Let's ground this in history. By the late Ming period, under Emperor Wanli in the early 1600s, technological advances and trade shifts brought new pest control methods. Workshops adopted innovations like rat-proof storage and early pesticides, influenced by global exchanges along the Silk Road. Cats like Ironclaw, once vital, were becoming less essential, their scroll-guarding days waning. Here's an odd fact. Some artisans, loyal to their feline partners, hid cats in workshops to dodge new regulations favoring mechanical traps, like sneaking a pet into a no-dogs-allowed apartment. Imagine risking a fine just to keep Ironclaw's smug face around. Makes your loyalty to a pet seem tame, doesn't it? You're standing by a window now, the cool evening air brushing your face, carrying the faint scent of anise oil from Ironclaw's training days. You spot a new clay jar in the corner, sealed tight to store scrolls, its surface etched with geometric patterns. It's effective, but lacks the soul of a cat's patrol. Ironclaw stirs, his notched ear twitching as a worker sets a trap with a clank. He gives it a sniff, then saunters off like he's too proud for this new tech. You can't help but chuckle. Your own pet would probably ignore a robot vacuum the same way. The artisans still toss him fish scraps, but their glances are nostalgic, like they're remembering Ember's bandit-chasing glory or the cat hero scroll's vivid ink. Picture yourself by a loom, where an older artisan unrolls a scroll, its silk faded but still soft, like an old photo you can't bear to delete. It's a map, dotted with stars, and you can almost feel the journeys it's charted. Ironclaw leaps up, brushing the silk with his tail, and you realize he's still guarding, even if the world's moving on.
Historians still debate whether the cat's decline was due to better tech or just a cultural shift. But you feel the loss here, a partnership fading like a sunset. Those bells, once a workshop soundtrack, are quieter now, replaced by the clatter of traps. You remember Shadow's palace swagger, Ember's heist heroics, and you're struck by how these cats shaped a dynasty's art, even as their era ends. The workshop feels like a memory itself, the lanterns dimming, the looms whispering their final threads. Ironclaw's eyes catch the light, steady and proud, and you sense he knows his worth, even if the jars and traps are stealing his spotlight. The artisans work on, their hands weaving stories into silk, but the cat's legacy lingers in every scroll, every tale. As the night deepens, you're ready to step into the final chapter, where these feline guardians leave their mark, not just on silk, but on the heart of the Ming dynasty.
The workshop is quieter now, its lanterns casting long, golden shadows that seem to stretch across time itself. You're sitting on a worn wooden bench, the air cool and heavy with the scent of old silk and faint traces of anise oil. Ironclaw is nearby, his gray fur barely visible in the dim light, curled up on his mat like a king resting after a long reign. The looms are still, the artisans gone home, and the scrolls, those delicate treasures of ink and silk, sit safely in their clay jars. You can feel the weight of the Ming dynasty's legacy around you, not just in the scrolls, but in the stories of cats like Ironclaw, Ember, and Shadow, whose paws shaped an empire's art. If you'd tried carrying that kind of legacy, you'd probably buckle faster than a cheap folding chair at a family reunion. Let's anchor this in history. By the late Ming dynasty, under Emperor Chongzhen in the 1640s, the empire faced decline, but its cultural achievements, like the silk scrolls, endured as symbols of resilience. Cats, once vital guardians, left their mark not just in workshops, but in art, poetry, and folklore, their legacy woven into the dynasty's final days. Here's a peculiar fact. Some Ming-era paintings included hidden cats in the backgrounds, tiny whiskered figures watching over scholars or scrolls, like Easter eggs in a modern video game. Imagine spotting Ironclaw's silhouette in a masterpiece, immortalized while your pet's only legacy is a chewed-up couch. You're closer now, running your fingers along the edge of a scroll case, its clay cool and smooth, like a gadget fresh out of the box. You imagine the stories inside, poems, maps, histories, guarded by cats whose bells once rang through these workshops. Ironclaw stirs, his eyes catching the lantern light, and you swear he's looking right at you, as if saying, "We did our part." You remember the phoenix scroll from the heist, the cat hero painting, the ledgers of rat kills, each moment a thread in a tapestry of cat loyalty. Historians still debate whether these cats were revered as symbols or just practical partners, but you're convinced they were both, their paws leaving prints on the Ming's soul. Picture yourself standing, the workshop fading into a soft blur, like a photo losing focus. You hear a distant jingle, maybe Ironclaw's bell, maybe a memory of Ember or Shadow, and it feels like a lullaby.
The cat's work lives on in every scroll that survived, every tale told by firelight, every painting with a hidden whisker. You think of your own pet, probably napping on a couch, and smile at how these Ming cats turned instinct into immortality. Their legacy isn't just in silk. It's in the stories that linger, like the scent of anise in the air, tying past to present. As the lanterns dim, the workshop grows softer, the edges of the world blurring into a gentle haze. You feel a calm settle over you, like a warm blanket on a cool night. The scrolls are safe, the cats at rest, their tails woven into the fabric of history. Let your eyes grow heavy now, your breath slow, as the hum of the Ming dynasty fades into a whisper. Imagine Ironclaw's steady gaze, the silk's gentle glow, carrying you into dreams where empires rise and fall, but stories endure. Sleep now, wrapped in the quiet of this ancient world, where tats and silk hold the night together. End of script. Sweet dreams.
Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into the silken world of the Ming Dynasty, where delicate scrolls of art and wisdom were worth more than gold, and, believe it or not, cats were their fiercest guardians. Picture yourself in a bustling 15th century Chinese city, the air thick with the scent of jasmine and ink, lanterns swaying in the breeze. You're weaving through crowded markets, silk robes brushing your skin, as merchants haggle over scrolls so intricate they take years to craft. These aren't just art, they're the empire's soul, inked with poetry and history. And guarding them, not soldiers, but cats, sleek, whiskered sentinels with eyes like jade. If you tried living in a world where a single rat could ruin a masterpiece, you'd probably lose it faster than a modern artist misplacing their stylus. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I love knowing where you're drifting off from. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're standing in the heart of Nanjing, the Ming capital, around 1420. The city hums with life. Vendors shout, cartwheels creak, and somewhere a cat's tail flicks lazily in the sun. These scrolls you're picturing aren't just paper, they're silk, woven so fine you can almost feel the threads under your fingertips, like the smoothest phone screen you've ever swiped. Artisans spend lifetimes perfecting them, painting dragons that seem to breathe or calligraphy that flows like a river. But here's the catch. One tiny nibble from a rat and years of work unravel faster than a bad TikTok trend. That's where the cats come in. These aren't your average alley strays. They're the Ming Dynasty's secret weapon, prowling workshops with the swagger of a K-pop star. You can almost hear their soft paws padding across wooden floors, eyes locked on any rodent dumb enough to try its luck. Let's talk about a big historical moment, the reign of Emperor Yongle, who moved the capital to Beijing and made silk scrolls a national obsession. He wasn't just building the Forbidden City, he was banking on these scrolls to cement his legacy, like a CEO commissioning a viral ad campaign. Yonglei's court was drowning in scrolls, records, art, even imperial decrees, each one a target for pests. Rats were the hackers of the 15th century, and nobody had invented digital backups yet. So cats became the firewall.
Here's a weird fact you won't find in most textbooks. Some workshops kept ledgers tracking their cats' kill counts, like a medieval version of a gaming leaderboard. One cat, supposedly named You'd Whiskers, racked up hundreds of rats in a single year. Imagine the emperor giving a nod to a cat while you're stuck debugging code all night. Talk about priorities. You're now trailing a scroll merchant through Nanjing's narrow alleys, the air cool with evening mist. He's carrying a bundle wrapped in cloth, glancing nervously for thieves or worse, rats. His shop's got a cat, a tabby with a stare that could freeze a mouse mid-step. You notice how the cat doesn't just hunt. It's got this eerie focus, like it knows the scrolls are worth more than its own 9 lives. The Ming folks didn't mess around. Cats were trained, not just fed. They'd dangle bits of fish to sharpen hunting skills, like coaching a kid for the spelling bee, but with higher stakes. Historians still debate whether these cats were revered as sacred or just really good employees. Either way, you're starting to see why a scroll's survival depended on a purring predator. The silk itself feels alive as you imagine running your hand over it, not stiff like modern canvas, but soft, almost liquid. Every scroll tells a story, maybe a poem about the moon or a map of the stars, and you can't help but feel a little protective yourself. If a rat got to one, it'd be like someone spilling coffee on your laptop mid-project. But the cats, though, they've got this covered. You spot one lounging on a workshop ledge, tail twitching like it's plotting world domination. And maybe it is. After all, these felines are saving the empire's culture 1 pounce at a time. As you linger in this moment, Nanjing's lanterns glow softer, and the city's hum feels like a lullaby. You're ready to step deeper into this world where cats and scrolls weave a tale stranger than fiction.